what you have not explained. Let's take a break. We'll be right back. Keeping it real. Sharpton. XL Friday. Be right back.
Offer not valid in all states or where prohibited by law. Loans are subject to...
1010 WOLB Baltimore and WERQ FM HD3 Baltimore.
The views and opinions of the guest and host you hear on 1010 WOLB
are not necessarily those of the staff and management of Radio 1, its sponsors, or advertisers.
It's done unto you as you believe. It's done unto you as you believe.
I'm gonna get there, yes, somehow. Push my way through the crowd. I'm gonna grab you by the hand to a place we will stand. Stand proud, no fear. It's clear, I believe in you. I believe in me. Oh yeah, I believe that we can make this dream a reality. Yeah, yeah. Now's the time to be. Now's the time for miracles. Oh, it's in my heart so deep. 'Cause I believe.
Yes, I believe in me and I believe in you.
Amen.
And I believe that we can make our dreams a reality. Good morning, Baltimore.
Amen.
Welcome to Patrick Henderson's Meet the People on WOLB 1010 Baltimore. Oh, what a beautiful day. It ain't too cold, ain't no wind blowing. I tell you, get up. I got up out of that bed this morning and pressed your way, washed everything up, make sure you was those clean, and went about your day. God is good. And for those of you who might be homebound and stuff, we're praying for you and wishing you the best and just loving you for wherever you are in this city. We are loving on you. We are loving on Baltimore. Please welcome my co-host and producer, Mr. Jason Rodriguez. Good morning.
Remind everyone that we are now streaming live on Facebook, YouTube, and Periscope. So you'll be able to get to see our crew in the studio in living color, as well as Patrick Henderson in all of his glory this morning.
Well, God is
All
good.
of his glory.
God is just good, man. God is good.
All of his glory.
I tell you what, in January, I'll be 70 years old. And we were talking about it as we came in, and you know, I almost died. And once you've been close to death like that, you don't fear it anymore. You know, you just realize it's part of life. But man, whilst I'm living, I told them when they carry me to the graveyard in the hearse, when they get ready to put me in, I'm going to push my hand out that coffin and say, wait a minute, I got one more thing. I got one more time. And we are honored to have as our, well, I'm trying to get him to become a regular here because I respect him so much. His track record is just impeccable when it comes to his works for the city and for our people. Marvin Doc Cheatham, good morning. How are you, sir?
Good morning. I was trying to figure out who is he talking about.
Plus one.
Just don't forget to call us for lunch. That's all.
And you're treating, right? That's exactly right. Marvin Doc Cheatham, we welcome you, sir.
Honor, it's an honor. Praise him.
We praise him, and we're thankful because not only do I respect these two gentlemen. Leo, did I introduce my main man?
No, you didn't say nothing.
I didn't
Hurt
say
my
nothing.
feelings. Hurt me one more
Say
time.
the best for last. Say the
Well,
best
you know, the thing is, they're all impeccable dressers, and
I'm not a peck of wood, though.
Yeah, no.
Okay, all right. Oh, excuse me.
Dr. Cheese got this beautiful blue, and Leo's got this beautiful green. A gentleman again that I love to be around people that are not only know what they're talking about, but that are curious and that are soldiers and that are unthwarted in their efforts to come together and bring our people together in ways that we might not think of, just from a common basis. Please welcome Leo Burrows Jr.
Well, praise the Lord and
yes.
pass the ammunition for justice, decency, and fair play.
Yes, sir. And we're passing ammunition up in here this morning.
Amen.
And we have another gentleman that I met. I watched him on Facebook. We became friends before I'd ever met him. But I noticed writer. And when I say impeccable, I mean people that take time and choose their words. And when you read it, we don't care you're educated or not, they don't talk above your head and they don't talk below you. But what they say is truth, and it reaches into the soul because it is the sound of the genuine. Please welcome Mr. James C. Morant
Yes,
to the panel this morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
I appreciate the welcome, and I appreciate those comments.
Well, we appreciate you being here. I knew I had to have you today to be here with us. Well, as many of you know, we oh no, my goodness, I'm gonna forget.
You forgot one. You forgot the other wise
I know
men.
we full up in here today. Please welcome the brilliant Mr. Richard Terry. How are you, Mr. Richard Terry, this morning?
See, Patrick, you forgot all about me. I'm the invisible man who comes in out of the woodwork.
Well, I tell you, you're not invisible. But here he is. Please welcome the gentleman, as you might know, who worked with the origins of the Auxiliary Police Department, wrote policy and all sorts of great things for the city of Baltimore, and had a very effective program that he worked with that brought crime down and saved money for the city and overtime for police. And he's just a brilliant writer and researcher, and he's a person who does not have sight. And he was just amazing. He don't miss nothing, y'all. He be calling me, did you see so-and-so, so-and-so? I went, James, how did you, Richard, how did you see that? I mean, this gentleman, he's just instinctual. When I talked to Jason yesterday, I would like to have a lady, a young man who is not only a talker, but a doer. Everybody, we're interested in. If you know someone that you would like to recommend to me to audition to be on the panel here, we would love to have, because we really want to be cross-generational, and we really would like to have different genders here, because everybody's opinion is important. But those people that are the workers, that are the actual doers, those are the people that we want to bring in so that we can share their thoughts and we can discuss and see how we might find common ground.
And Patrick, thinking about it yesterday, we might even be able to help them as far as for coming in and doing this as a community service requirement that they may have for college.
Oh, that would be great. But I tell you what, don't send me nobody that don't know none of that. I was talking to a guy the other day, and I asked him about one group here that I think is really, really visible and does a lot of things, and he didn't know who they were, so I knew that wasn't the person, because really, if you're involved, you know. Sometimes, James? Because James is James Morant. He's a world traveler. He's a great singer, so he's always over in Paris, France, and stuff, which I got to talk to you about, because I want to get back up over in there and do some music over there. They doubted for a minute it was a blue wave, but it was really a blue tsunami. Trump had endorsed 31 people that he went and visited and said, this is who you need to vote for. And 28 of them lost. 28 of them lost. So I believe the country is waking up. Some of the white people who have supported this man are realizing that he really just does not have a clue. There's something mentally unstable about him. Who would go all the way to Paris? How long would it take to fly from D.C. to Paris, James?
7.5 hours.
7.5 hours to go over there and then not go to the biggest dedication memorial for World War I veterans because it rained.
There were 1,800 graves at the place where he couldn't go. American graves.
And he couldn't go because it rained.
Yeah.
Man, I tell you what, that's something, ain't it? I ain't gonna tell you what my mama would call him, but because y'all might censor me. Or censure me if I tell you what my mom, but there's a name for it.
And speaking of that, let happy Veterans Day today.
Yes,
amen.
Yes. Let us wish them a happy. Those of them that are can hear our voices. Those who paid the ultimate sacrifice can't hear our voice, like that 1,800 in that cemetery. So you would think that. Wonder why the President of the United States wouldn't find it in his heart to see the need for that, especially at this time.
Patrick, you know why.
No, talk to me.
You know why. He didn't want to go because he didn't feel like dealing with all those people over there. He didn't feel like dealing with the President of France.
Macron.
Or whatever, I forget how to pronounce it, Macron. You had the President of Germany. He can't tolerate them. That's probably why he didn't make that trip. Why he didn't go.
Well,
now his people are going to say, "Oh, it's because of security risks and all this other thing because everybody else is over there trying to get to him." But I think it's a little bit more than that.
Well, not only is it more than that, but Macron got up and gave a speech and talked about how nationalism was one of the worst things in the world, how it was inferior to patriotism, because nationalism says this is just for me and my group who think like me. And it's right there, and Trump is sitting there. You know, the last time they were together, they were all buddy, all touchy-feely and everything. And I watched the newsreels last night, and Trump acted like he had Macron had boo-boo on him, and he was trying to get it. Macron was trying to touch him again. He kept his hand like a petulant child that he is.
Well,
and
you know, we're dealing with a self-centered individual. He's not sensitive. He doesn't want to be sensitive. He's a white nationalist, he says. And
his words.
Yeah, and he's centered on his own agenda, whether it be an agenda of distractions or an agenda of arrogance or an agenda of
division
of Donald the actor Trump, which is to divide and conquer. So given his self-centeredness, I'm not surprised by his tendencies to do whatever he feels like doing in a whimsical kinds of things.
No consideration for the impact.
Well, he's the John Wayne of the White House.
Yes,
you know, he's sort of like a off-the-hook racist white man.
Like John Wayne was.
That's all I know to call him.
You're perfect casting because John Wayne was a notorious racist.
Well,
there's a paradigm. There is a motif that these type of people fit in.
This guy should be impeached. He may not be impeached, but I'm saying every time you are able to document an offense, a violation of the Constitution, a violation of moral turpitude, whatever impeachable offenses that you can identify, do it chronologically and keep a wrong record.
Oh, trust me.
And I hear people saying, well, you don't have confirmation, so don't make any difference. It's a tactic, it's a strategy by which to mobilize people around a common objective.
Yes.
He's an enemy.
Yes.
A clear and present danger to this country, this nation, and this world.
Yes, I agree with you.
And specifically to African people. That's my own opinion.
Leo, if I may, sir, you're correct in that assessment. But here's my thoughts on this, and here's what I'm afraid of if that were to happen. If they were to try to impeach Trump, it would start a political war that you would not be able to control. And two, the only people that could really get hurt in all of this is the American public, and that is what I'm afraid of.
Don't be afraid.
But did that happen when Clinton was impeached?
No, it didn't happen when Clinton was impeached because the Republicans impeached him And then what happened when, the same scenario comes into play when it got to the Senate failed to uphold it.
That's okay. At least it was there's an asterisk by Clinton's name,
right.
And this is what we must do.
These are different times, Patrick. This is a much more
volatile
and much more. How can I say it? Ideological warfare getting ready to break
Taking
out
sides,
now.
tribalism.
Go for the jugular of those who are your enemy. I'm not turning the other cheek. I'm willing to die and don't want to die. Believe me, I'm having a great time on this planet.
Yes.
But do whatever we have to do to ensure our survival.
Yes.
And the survival of our children, families, and community.
And for the future generations, Mr. Morant, you have a name for him. I believe you call him the man baby.
I call him the man baby.
And
that's a good one.
I stopped using President Trump, I guess, over a year ago, because everything that I see related to him relates to my children growing up, where they didn't have impulse control. Because what do you expect of a 3-year-old? They have to be guided. And you have someone who's 70-plus years old who's still in that 3-year-old frame
of mind.
So anything that he thinks of that he wants to do, he does. And there are no repercussions. Nobody can swat him on the behind or do anything like that. And he has a complicit legislative branch. So the Republicans are going to band with him no matter what. I would like to just put this out there so that everybody can go to their YouTubes or do whatever it is they do to get additional information. There was a film, it's 7 minutes, so you can go on YouTube and find it. I think it's called Night at the Garden. And that is when 20,000 Nazis, American Nazis, rented Madison Square Garden in New York, and they had a massive rally. And if you look at that rally and you look at some of Man Baby's rallies, they are identical, including a demonstrator who actually was beaten on the stage and pulled off the stage.
Okay, I remember that one. And they had a similar group called the Silver Legion in California.
Well, I know that the one in I'm not familiar with the one in California, but the one in New York
right, I remember.
And while there were 20,000 Nazis on the inside of the garden, there were that we're not supposed to look at history and assess and analyze what's been going on. All you have to do is just look at that. That was 1939.
Yeah.
And here we are in 2018, and it's reminiscent of what I saw on that particular film.
Was not Hitler in his killing
coming to rise?
He was coming to rise.
Yeah.
I was reading the other day about the American not apathy, but what is conflict? Let the boats in. So America was complicit, but you know what? I think this election has really shown us that we're not going to stand for. I think we outnumber Republicans 2-1 in this nation. I believe if that's the last statistic I read. Is it that
I'm
much?
not sure. It's a lot. I know we outnumber them. It may be 2-1.
And this election proved, even though some of them were won narrowly, that the people are just not going to go for this. Black, white, blue, green, no matter what. They're not going to go for it. And I believe, as you do, Leo, that we must go for the jugular because they are not playing. This is not a pablum time. This is steak and rib time. This is the time for us to not only stand up and make our voices heard, but our thoughts known, lest they roll over us.
Man baby Trump is the commander-in-chief of the armed forces.
Right.
He is just itching for a war with North Korea, Iran, whomever he can fight. He's itching for an opportunity to mobilize the American military, not only against so-called immigrants, but against African people, wherever he can, whether it's this country or not. So the barbed wire that they're carrying in their packages to the southern border may ultimately be carried in every package in every major center, urban center in this country under this man. He may invoke martial law if he has if he can get an opportunity to utilize it. I don't know what he's going to do. Nobody knows what he's going to do. But if he can utilize the military in ways that are to our disadvantage, keep your eye on the prize. He will do it.
Well, go ahead, Doc.
I want to add one additional thing. I think war, in fact, has been declared by the president. And I say that to say that this president has attacked 3 of our women in public.
Yes.
Doing what he has done on a number of other occasions, basically start calling names. I contend he has declared war on us as a people.
Amen.
As an African-American people. And I think we as men first need to speak out very strongly that we consider the language that was used offensive and find it racist at the very minimum. Of how he is speaking and talking to our black women. I'm one black man that definitely has to speak out and say, I'm sick and tired of this mess.
He called all the journalists stupid and dumb.
Did, you know, and he did. Not only did he do that, but then they doctored a film of that encounter with a
intern, Whitehurst House intern.
And her snatching them by saying that he hit her, and they went and got a tape from InfoWars and spliced it in to make it look like that Acosta hit her, which was a lie. I mean, the level to which this man will go. This is fascism, y'all. Y'all don't understand what this is. This is fascism. When you go against the press like that, who have a constitutional right. Now, I believe Acosta and CNN is
you make is the scary one because he said last summer, don't believe what your eyes see and don't believe what you hear. And then you see that film at the White House. And I saw it live.
Man, yes.
Yeah, that's
and
right.
then you come back at me later on and say, oh, no, that didn't happen. He assaulted her. And it begins to make your mind just sort of twist because our country has turned into this sort of twisted sister.
Well, it has, but really, Rohrbacher he got ousted in California. This guy was not only a Russian sympathizer, but he was taking meetings with Russians. He got kicked out, and quite a number of those really avid Russian Trump supporters did not get reelected. A lot of those people who was the guy that said that it's a weird world where you can't call a woman a slut anymore in public. He got kicked out. So the women rose up. The women. So how many men to women? How many women to men in America? Is it is it 2 to 1? I think it's even more. Yeah. I think it's even more. So he's because believe it or not, you all, and I love women, and I realize the bottom line is over 100 women got elected to the Congress.
You can attribute that to he has alienated the suburban white women that were primarily independent thinkers or moderately Republican, but they are even getting tired of his antics.
Have we heard the term benevolent despotism?
No, would you define that for us?
Well, historically, it's been talked about in the 1500s, 1700s, 1800s. Supposedly, a person who really cares about people, who is regal, considers themselves to be royal. And, of course, this president wants to have a formal coronation, I think. He's going to be coronated in a corrugated box. I'm twisting these words up. But my point is that the fellow, as I said, is very dangerous. He sees himself I see him as the president who would be king. He wants to be a king. And he's obviously striving with the help of congressional leaders, some of them, to be a dictator. And if we don't push back strongly against that, there's no way to let up off of him. People saying, well, if you don't antagonize him, he won't hurt us.
No.
He'll put us all in concentration camps in this country if we stand still.
Yes, he will.
And we're not going to stand still for it.
No, we're not going to. Why do you laugh, James?
Because I wrote something on Facebook the other day. I said, this is to all man-baby sympathizers. If you vote for the man-baby, we can hang Negroes from trees by Wednesday.
That's right.
Of course, it's sarcasm, but that's the way I see this country moving. There is someone from Mississippi who said that she would be happy to go to public lynchings.
That was a senator in Mississippi.
Yeah, and
the senator in Mississippi.
It's incredible. And let me go back to these black female journalists. I just wrote down, I mean, these are just a few. So April Ryan, sit down. Shut up. You're stupid. Yamiche Sendor, you're a racist for asking me about me being a racist. I love this thinking. Omarosa was a dog. Frederica Wilson was a liar. And Maxine Waters is low IQ. Is there any acceptable black woman in his orbit?
No, it certainly doesn't not only sound like, but this man, his first wife, when in the divorce proceedings, said he raped her.
Yeah.
His wife. Yeah. I mean, Ivanka Ivana.
Yeah.
And she was the brains behind when she was there. They were trying to run the company. She was the brains that was keeping everything happening. But she got so sick of it. And then his son was so upset the way he treated her that they didn't speak for years.
Yeah.
So this is a cruel man who has no compassion. A narcissist, a personality narcissistic disorder is what this man has. There's no other way to look at it.
Well, the cruelty, to me, extends even beyond black folk. We have so far 31 people who are dead in fires in California.
Yes, sad.
His first remarks are, it's basically your fault because you didn't do good forest management, and the state of California should be ashamed of itself. And then I guess some of his people said, hey, you've got to talk about the people and
But don't forget the other thing he said, I'm going to cut off the money. That's what he said. Yeah. That was the worst thing. He says, I'm going to try. He can't do that.
Well, 60% of the money is U.S. money from the U.S. Treasury to do forest management.
Exactly.
So what that also says to me, in addition to being cruel, he is ignorant.
Yes.
And
my God.
He doesn't read. He doesn't want to read. He's not curious. And all the things that he believes, he basically started at a young age.
Yes, and it's carried through. But isn't that the typical mind of a conservative? They're regressive people. I see Uncle Fred
that's
is on the line.
Hitler's mind.
But that's the typical that describes a conservative. Who conserves? When you sit down at the table, your wife bring you one string bean and a chicken finger. You go, baby, where the food at? Well, you want it full. You want to eat. You want the abundance. So why are people trying to act like conservative? No conservative in the last 50 years who served back. Uncle Fred, how are you, sir?
Hey, how y'all doing?
How you doing, Uncle Fred?
Question or comment?
Y'all crying the blues?
No, we're not crying the blues, sir. Do you have a question or comment?
Oh, excuse me. I didn't mean to irritate you.
You're not irritated. Listen, dude, do you have a question or comment?
I got a comment
then
about
make it.
Ridiculous Democrats.
Well, Fred,
wait a minute.
Fred, are you on Social Security?
I'm on Social Security.
Yes. Do you?
71 years old. What you think?
I know you are.
Okay. So what do you think? What are you saying about that?
So what are you saying about it? You're talking supporting people who want to take that away from you, privatize it.
Wait a minute. The people that already own Social Security, they're not going to touch that.
What about your children? They're going to get old too someday.
Our children don't need Social Security.
Why don't your children need Social Security?
Because
they're rich.
If you think about it, the money that you paid into it, if I'd have put that money in something else, I have twice as much money.
I agree with that, but that's beyond the point.
Reality.
Well, that is reality, but it's not reality
of
what the case
somebody
is now.
like me that's paid into it all my life since I've worked since I was 14 years old. I'm hitting 50 years old.
Right.
I'm not going to see anything out of it that I put into it throughout my lifetime.
I'm trying to get his justification for it, for being a conservative at that point.
You know why I'm a conservative?
No.
Because I
got some ideas.
For 50 years, I've watched what the Democratic Party has done to the black community. If you haven't seen it, then y'all need to wake up.
Did you, Fred, 50 years ago, could you vote? Could you vote 50, was it 1964, 65? We got the right to vote. And what are you, 70-something, 90? How old are you?
I'm 70.
Okay, so then you know what I'm talking about, the right to vote. So without the right to talk?
Well, we about we got the right to vote.
Yeah, but we didn't have the vote, but we did exactly. So what do you? Yeah, and it wasn't Republicans that gave it to us, sir. So your point?
Republicans? You said Republicans gave it to you?
Hell no, I ain't said no Republican gave us Goldwater. What are you talking about? Come on, man, don't waste my time.
Who wrote the Civil Rights Bill?
Lyndon B. Johnson?
No, he did not write it.
Who wrote it? The Congress wrote it. Whoever wrote it, it wasn't no damn Republicans.
Look it up. Look it up.
Oh, yeah. Look it up.
Man.
He says look it up. And your next point.
You're going to find out that the Republican Party...
Hold on, Fred. You're listening to Patrick Henderson's Meet the People on WOLB 1010 Baltimore. Don't touch the dial. Y'all pray for me that I can get through Fred. We'll be right back.
1010 WOLB Baltimore and WERQ FM HD3 Baltimore.
All right, we're back. You know, I think on people like you, Fred, and I respect you. I respect everybody.
Marcus Garvey told me which way to see it out.
Yeah.
W.E.B. Du Bois turned him into the FBI. Did you know that?
Did you know that? What does that have to do with this present time, sir? You're always talking about the past to make it convenient for you. Who the hell wanted to go back to Africa? Who wanted to go back to Africa? Nobody wanted to go back to Africa. We built this land. We're the ones that toiled and tilled this land and made it livable for these people. Why should we leave and go back? Your point, exactly.
Marcus Garvey didn't say that.
Marcus Garvey one day he brought about ships. Am I wrong? To people that wanted to go back to Liberia to create a black nation or whatever.
Can I try it again?
Hopefully.
Marcus Garvey did not want to go back. He wanted us to unify as a group of people across the world. That's what his thing was.
He did a great job of it, too. Great newspapers.
Fred, question for you.
Go ahead.
Do you have any comments, this is Doc Cheatham, with reference to the statements, the name-calling that the president has used on our African-American female reporters?
I have some problems with that. Listen to this here. I continuously asking them over and over again, is he a racist?
What? We didn't understand what you said. You have a problem with what?
I said, I have a problem with some of the things he's said, but I also have a problem with them asking him the same question over and over and over again. Is he a racist? That doesn't even make sense. Why keep that?
No, it don't. When it's obvious, I agree with you. Everybody knows he's a racist. So what's your point?
I know April Ryan personally. I've known her when she was a little girl. Let me tell you this here. I've yet to hear her say, what are you going to do for the inner city? What are you going to do about the crime? She never asked that question. She never asked about what's going on in the black community. She always asked something like, are you a racist? That doesn't even make sense to keep asking.
It does. That would explain why he's not doing anything in the black community.
Fred, this is Doc again.
HBCUs, he gave more money to HBCUs than Obama.
Fred, this is Doc again. Are you saying that he is justified in the way he is speaking to our African American women?
I didn't say that.
That's my question. My question to you is he correct or incorrect in the manner in which he is basically speaking about our African American women?
Reporters, yes.
At some point, we got to be able to say that sometimes he might be right and sometimes he may be wrong. I'm specifically asking you, Fred, is he right or wrong in doing this?
I told you already, Doc.
But you still support him.
I do not agree with some of the things you said.
I'm being specific, Fred.
But you know what?
Fred, I'm being specific. I'm not talking about folks in general. I'm talking about these 5 African American women. Is he right or is he wrong specifically?
Didn't I just tell you I know one of them personally?
I know one of them personally as well.
So,
and I told you I didn't agree with some of the things he said to them. But I also don't agree with them calling.
Why don't you agree? It needs to be established. It needs to be made known, and it needs to be done frequently.
Bill Clinton, was he a racist? They ever asked Bill Clinton, was he a racist? You think Bill Clinton's a racist?
Yeah, well, listen, he has his proclivities. But Bill Clinton came out about the greatest economical expansion in the history of this nation, sir. And it was for all. That is true, man. You make up. That's so typical of Republicans. They make up their own minds. These thoughts in their minds about the way they think that it is. You go and you can document that anywhere. There was the greatest economic expansion in the history of this nation. Yeah, Clinton had his problems with his PP, and he had problems with some other things with other people. I heard he got a black son. So what? Who people sleep with is none of my business. But here's a man that is standing here trying people who has been consistently doing it his whole life, every chance he got. Those boys in New York, the Central Park Five. Even after they found that there was DNA evidence that exonerated them, he still did not. hatred there. And it's typical because it's in his blood. His father was KKK. Okay, so don't get it twisted. Yes, Leo.
Yeah, I want to point out to Brother Fred and others that Donald Trump is crazy like a fox in some instances insofar as he promotes the divide and conquer agenda with Kanye West and other like-thinking Negroes. We're talking about Larry Hogan and Brian Frosh in the state of Maryland. One is a Republican, the governor. The other is an attorney general who's a Democrat. But they're both white nationalists on the issue of HBCUs. There's no question of where they stand. So all is not out. There's no confusion about the agenda of Donald Trump insofar as he tends to do what he's been adept at doing, and that is to ensure that he has a minority of Negroes, and I say that disparagingly, who are going to work for his best interests while at the same time ensuring that he undermines.
Please forgive I get so I'm telling y'all on past Tuesday I looked at my car and I said, you need to get the hell out of here. I did. I got the keys, I got the gas money. I can go anywhere and live anywhere I want in the world. Why are you staying here, Patrick, when you just watched black people vote for a man who does not have their interest at heart? The only reason he's considered a moderate is because the legislatures vetoed those. He tried to veto the bill. They can take anything. How do you all know who had their car picked up that was in the wrong place, and then they slapped all these fees and stuff on it, and they lost their car? They couldn't get to work. They were totally incapacitated because they couldn't have a car. This man tried to veto that. And the only reason he didn't do that was because the legislature said, no, you're not going to do sick paid leave. When we get sick, man, the last thing we should have to think about is money, and we're working on a job. He tried to veto that. He stopped that. So when do $15 an hour, cutting education short, the HBCUs, that's the main one for me, because, my God, if we can't educate our children, where will we be? It's a high price. Ignorance is a high price to pay, and it doesn't have to be in this modern day and time. And if this case goes to the Supreme Court, Fordyce it's called, I believe it's going to be labeled, then what are they going to do, the Supreme Court in its present makeup? They're going to shoot it down and say, no, it's reverse discrimination, and so they shouldn't get no more money than anybody. They shouldn't get any special. But then they give money to Harvard, and they give money to Yale. And the only reason we have HBCUs is because they didn't want to go to school with us, wouldn't let us go to their schools. So I cannot in my mind fathom why any black person knowing this would vote for this man and put him back in office. What they say, what, he got 31% of the vote here?
Sure.
Unbelievable. 33% of the vote here.
Folks, December the 11th, buses will be leaving from all four HBCUs, Bowie, Compton, Morgan, UMES, going to Richmond, Virginia, where the oral arguments will be heard as a result of Brian Frost, the governor, the Maryland Higher Education Commission appealing Judge Blake's decision. The oral arguments will take place on December the 11th at 9 a.m. Buses are going to be leaving from each of the four schools. We're encouraging everybody possible that can go to please go and join with us as we basically watch for about 2 hours. It's normally guesstimated about 2 hours for the oral argument. But this case that has now gone to the Fourth Circuit in Richmond is now going to the next step before it gets to the Supreme Court. We cannot and must not allow this case to go to the Supreme Court. December the 11th, contact your alumni association at each one of the four schools. There will be flyers put out before the end of the week. It's a month away. It's December the 11th, 9 o'clock, Richmond, Virginia.
And Doc, we actually reach out further than the state of Maryland. I would encourage anybody that's ever attended an HBCU that's listening to our voice around the country, look at getting on a bus, a plane, and meeting us there and beating us there. for this hearing?
This case will affect the 101 HBCUs around the country. If they revisit and deal with this case, they then can revisit the Fordyce case at the Supreme Court level, which means all of our HBCUs are in jeopardy as a result of this case.
Doc, you all know that post-secondary education is being looked at very hard right now. Yeah, and Patrick, you mentioned Harvard. You know, everybody. Did you all know that there is a lawsuit where a group of Asians have sued Harvard to get access to how they decide who's going to be admitted to Harvard and who isn't going to be admitted to Harvard?
They're using that case to find out what the criteria are.
To find out what the criteria is. And I think if you look at it from that standpoint, that's going to affect all the other post-secondary schools in the country. And I think all of this...
Listen, Doc, that's everything. But my question is, do those people that voted for Republicans, particularly for Hogan here, knowing his stance on it, will they have the blood children on their hands? People say, oh, that's a little dramatic. Not to me. Not to me. Because if we can't educate our children, if we can't send them into their environment, into their dated. So that's the way I feel about it. I'm going to take your questions and comments. Welcome, Ernest. You have a question or comment, sir?
Yes. How did we get involved in World War I?
Was it Leopold? You tell us. Come quickly.
I'm going to tell you how we got involved. The Balfour Declaration. That's how we got involved. Woodrow Wilson was caught up in a honey trap where he was messing with a married woman while he was a professor. Jacob Shipp met him and said, we'll keep it quiet. Who is an Ashkenazi Jew? We'll keep it quiet if you get the United States into World War I and make Brandeis put him on the Supreme Court. That's how we got into World War I.
That was the first Jew on the Supreme Court, Brandeis?
Brandeis, who was one of the worst in America. He worked on that Balfour Declaration that allowed Slavic individuals to take over Palestine. And that's what it's all about. That's those Jews. They were living well in Europe. They did not want to go to Palestine. So the Rothschilds, who controls all the money in the world, created pogroms.
P-O-G, pogrom, that means killing of Jews.
Huh?
Pogroms are killing of Jews, right?
Yeah, it was done by the Rothschilds.
Right. Oh,
and Bolsheviks in Russia.
Yes, he's right. I read it.
Bolsheviks in Russia. So, and then they come up with the Project for the New American Century. All this is when you look back at it and read a lot, you see that this is a well-planned activation. And the Project for the New American Century, General Wesley Clark told us about that, but nobody's been paying attention. It said that a group of Ashkenazi Jews and Zionists said that we have to have something like Pearl Harbor again, so that we can destabilize the Middle East for the Greater Israel. This is all about the Greater Israel, and we don't own any money in the United States. Rothschilds own all the banks in the world.
You said that they're worth $700 trillion. That's the last.
700
trillion.
700 trillion. Yes. They financed all the wars from the French War with Napoleon and England, all the way up to every war that we've had, and the people that's running the world are trillionaires. And Donald Trump, they're watching Donald Trump. They know he's not capable, but he is a destabilizer. They want to bring the Messiah back to Israel and make Rothschild the Jews. This is what this is all about. But because, I mean, and with these secret societies, George Herbert Walker Bush, now you notice one thing. All of them, everybody, is talking about a new world order somewhere. They go to AIPAC, New World Order, Obama, George W.H. Bush, George W. Bush. Everybody's talking about everybody.
I think it was referred to as the Carlyle Group. Is that the group?
No, it's called the Bilderberg Group. It's all of them. It's all together.
Okay.
It's not just one person and stuff.
Right. It's a group.
They keep showing you, and they don't care about losing American troops.
No,
they don't care about,
man. They don't care about killing their own people.
George W. Bush had that fake war in Iraq.
Mm-hmm.
What was it? 500,000 Americans died on a lie?
No. We only had 4,500. It was the Iraqis. 500,000 of them were killed. We didn't lose. We were maimed.
It's all mass murder.
Yeah, it is. Thank you, sir. Thank you. That was very, very.
What he's talking about is and I've heard this before. It's called the Bilderberg Group.
Okay.
And it's this group of industrialists who are the kingmakers. They meet every so often, and a lot of times it's here in the United States somewhere. And it was them that put Obama in office. And created the plan to put him in office. And allegedly, there are some who have thought that they control and manipulate everything around the world as it is.
That was Zbigniew Brzezinski was a part of that?
I think he is.
Yes. What's her name that's on Morning Joe? Mika, that's her father. Yes. I've read this before, that he's a part of that group that you're speaking of.
And also what you're talking about with Bush at Yale is called Skull and Bones. And it's one of those, we would call them in HBCUs fraternities.
Call them what? What was the word?
Clubs there.
Fraternities.
Fraternities, okay.
Fraternities.
Okay,
but
all right.
At Yale and Harvard and all, you have what are called eating clubs, but it's the same thing.
Yes, Leo.
Now that we're talking about the international ramifications of our existence as a people, let us not forget that silence is deafening at a point in time when we know that the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia was involved in the murder of Khashoggi, and all of a sudden...
A Washington Post reporter.
A Washington Post
an
reporter.
American resident.
Donald Trump has become very silent. The State Department's very silent. The Turkish have let the cat out of the bag because they've got the documentation that this man was murdered. What did the President of the United States know, and when did he know it? Obviously, there's complicity going on here when we're talking about the genocide and the ramifications of our alliance with the Saudi Arabians who were involved, were they not, in 9/11? Big time.
Yes.
Leo, your problem is you don't know how to throw a good party. All you have to do is get this big globe and have a big party and have Man Baby's picture on the sides of every hotel.
Yeah.
And you're in.
Yeah, and you're
Man
in.
Baby's a nightmare.
I find it interesting he calls him Man Baby, because wasn't it our cousin Jane Elliott that called him a child?
Yes, right here on this station.
A child of the devil.
Yes, he is.
The Antichrist himself.
Yes. Butch, welcome to Patrick Henderson's Meet the People. Do you have a question or comment, sir?
Oh, man. Good morning. Good afternoon, gentlemen.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
Kanye West, when him and Jim Brown, Kanye West was 2 words away from calling Trump master.
Yes.
Some of the callers they call here supporting Trump, they're 2 words away from calling him master. I put him in the top 2 along with Woodrow Wilson as one of the worst presidents we ever will have and have.
Yes.
And I would like to see, besides his taxes, I'd like to see his college transcript grades. Y'all have a nice day, gentlemen.
But Patrick, we said this yesterday. Is it that some of us suffer from us believing that the white man's water is colder?
Well, I like to use the ice. We do, and I don't understand.
We still believe it, though, some of us.
But that's a residual effect of enslavement. Right. Post-traumatic slave syndrome, it's called.
Yeah. Right.
Yes. Gene, welcome to Patrick Henderson's Meet the People. You have a question or comment?
A couple comments. Liberia. We've heard of Liberia. That was brought up today. And the Democrats plan to send people back to Africa. That was prior to the Civil War.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Of course. That's why Liberia was created, as American imperialism, and the solution for what we do with the Negro after they're free. So this, was sent back to
to
Liberia. And then the other thing, Marcus Garvey. My God, it's like I heard Marcus Garvey was buying shipping lines, not to send people back to Africa, but to send goods, to go and buy goods and bring them back so that black people could be involved in the shipping of commerce throughout the world.
Okay, I didn't know that. Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
See, this is why I love when we come and we share information. Ain't nobody trying to hog up the time and think we know. Learn from me. I did not know that. Thank you.
Of course, yeah. Then it was the precursor to the FBI who got Marcus Garvey on tax evasion. He was exported on tax. They got him on tax charges.
Right.
They got rid of Marcus Garvey.
Was he a millionaire when he died? He had made a lot of money.
No. He wasn't a millionaire, but he was selling stocks for his company, so he would have been a billionaire had his vision come to fruition.
I think if there was a time and point that he had 400,000 to 500,000, 4 million. Newspapers that were read weekly or monthly by black people all around the United States.
I mean, he had a thing going where had he, black people would have been he would have created, wealth. And we talk about the $1.4 trillion that we spend
a year
for goods and services. What he was trying to do is put that kind of wealth in the hands of black people. We would have been hiring each other and been involved in shipping goods and services throughout.
All right, Gene, come quickly. Do you have another thought? Thank you for that information.
My point is, Dr. Cheatham, please talk about the Green Party. And the attributes of the Green Party.
Okay,
because,
we're going to come back to that because the person, Joshua, we were supporting, he did get more votes than he'd ever gotten in his life. I think he got something like 15,000 votes, which is great.
So I just think that, we arguing about Democrats or Republicans. We have a alternative, which is the Green Party. We need to talk about that, illuminate them.
Yes.
And then the other thing, too, in reference to the HBCU issue, part of the problem with the HBCU issue is 9 out of 10 black people don't have an idea, a clue about what it's about. So we need to inform them and maybe get a referendum starting a referendum so that when the election comes up, it's on the ballot.
Well, but not in recent history have there been so many black kids being taken over by white people. But now
it's the uninformed voter who's not aware of the HBCUs.
All right. Thank you, Gene.
Yeah, Patrick, I even told you on our show on Sunday that one of the Howard University students that was at the B Expo stated that they were actually recruiting, trying to get more Baltimore residents to attend historically.
Had an upsurge in registration of black people, because the white folks was trying to take it over, because they're coming from all over the world to Morgan because it's one of the best engineering schools in the world.
Students from Africa, students from around the country,
Iranian, wherever they were coming to Morgan. Right. So we know. Hassan, welcome to Patrick Henderson's Meet the People. You have a question or comment, sir?
Yes. How you doing today?
I'm well. How are you?
How you doing,
Brother Patrick? I just want you to know I love you, and you have a great heart. I just want you to know that. And so what I want to say is, at all times, we must know that we are African American first. They never title us as just American, although we should be.
Because I'm not sure you're exactly right about that. They make it known their origin and its geography.
Everybody has a motherland that was not America. Only Native Americans.
Right.
American.
Agree. Yes.
And I also want to say this. Because of that, due to that, we don't know the American history. The English language always goes back to Latin. So when the word democracy is used or democrat is used, you must realize that demo means demon and crat means rule or to rule. That's not our history. That's their history. That's Greece. So we all caught up in the mix. There's no right. It's all wrong. Everything is pagan. It's all evil. It's all satanic. None of it is African. All we can do is try to find our way. That's why I said I love you. You have a heart. I'm just letting you know what it is.
Well, I hear you, my brother. But I'm going to stick with and nothing and particular. Now, you can say we can't call ourselves American. Why can't we call ourselves America? The only reason we look differently is because of the geography of where our people came from. But we are American citizens with rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
This country was built off the backs of our people.
Exactly. And so
Hassan, I'm not understanding you.
Never mind the fact that we helped build this country, but they're actually finding fossils and finding artifacts that we actually crossed the continental divide.
We were here first.
Correct,
right.
And we were here first.
We were here first.
Right, you have pyramids in Mississippi.
Yes, sir. 100%. You are correct. But we will never be called Americans.
Who do we care what they call us? It's who we think we are, no? As a man thinketh?
But it has to be truth. You have to face reality.
Sir, whose reality? Whose reality, Hassan? They're what they want us to think?
Oh. What I'm saying is not credit. We don't get credit.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I don't either. You lost.
I understand where he's coming from. As a nation, we don't, in some cases, many folks say we don't represent anything because you have Italians that say they're Italian American, but they have an Italian heritage.
Right. United States
of Africa, America. So if you're not considered just a single American, you're a refugee. We are not refugees. We were here before, like you all said. We built this country, but we do not get that respect. Caucasians are not called European Americans. They are called Americans.
Why do you say we don't get that respect? I don't understand. I feel that we are respected for those of us who know the truth. You seem to know the truth. What are you saying?
Well, I don't get respected because where I live at, it's 5 living.
Respect ourselves. Love ourselves. You love us.
But that's not good enough when you look at the younger generations today. They don't even know who they are because you don't know who you are. The older generations don't even know who they are.
Sir, please don't speak so generally. Yeah, you're speaking generally.
You know who we are. You just said
we know who you are.
I understand where he's coming from. Again,
brothers, I'm one person. person.
No, and I understand where he's coming from. Again, most folks identify themselves like Jewish Americans identify themselves as Jews first. Everybody else identifies them by the nation first. We're the only ones that don't have a nation to identify ourselves on.
So we're Africans living in America.
It's about geography.
I'm glad you said that because if I say the sun is yellowish, then that means it's like yellow. If I say you're acting meanish, I know that's not a word, but someone say you're acting almost mean, or the TV show Blackish, it means that they're acting almost black or somewhat black. So when you say someone is Jewish, they're not really Jews. They're somewhat, they're like the Jews. Okay, you know who the real Jews are. I'm not even going to go there right now. But once again, that's history taken from us. That's ran by evil.
Are you proud of your heritage and culture? Are you proud of your heritage and culture, or do you have a heritage?
That's why I listen to your show, sir. Okay. That's why I listen to your show, because I'm proud of it. And you represent that in a good way. I'm just letting you know that what you're talking about in America is not reality. That's not our reality.
It's not your reality. God bless you, my brother. Thank you. I think you're seeking to learn, but you lost.
I don't know.
Quite. We've got one more call before 410-481-1010. We got some open lines. Please call and share your thoughts. We can't teach you anything, but hopefully we can make you think and maybe reconsider your position if it is not within the wholeness and altruistic nature of who we should be as a group of people.
Thank you.
I just want to say, I know the call you did last time, but I wanted to say is what came to my mind. This conversation just came talking to the guy about black African or American African. The same way Donald Trump had the Republicans on news, a bunch of black people clapping and shouting when he walked through the door, and it's like Django. You got one in the field, one in the household. And what got me, the master ain't got to say nothing. Because the Republicans doing it for him.
Wait, hold on. You hold on for a minute. I got to go to a commercial.
He hit a home run.
You're listening to Patrick Henderson's Meet the People on WLB. Don't you touch that dial. Bye. Hold on.
The new 1010 WOLB with talk in the day and soul at night.
BDX Live Talk Show is now heard live every Thursday from 12 noon to 1 p.m. on 1010 a.m. BDX Live with host Lou Fields covers business news, travel, community, politics, history, special events, and special guests. Tune in every Thursday and have lunch.
I was scared. Just didn't know what to do. He had a pretty good idea what the IRS might do.
They can take my car, my truck, garnish my wages, get into my bank accounts.
Ted's brother suggested Optima Tax Relief.
Optima took over and things started happening fast.
The leading tax resolution firm, Optima Tax Relief, is A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau. They've resolved over $500 million for their clients. So how's Ted doing now?
Since my debt was resolved, the stress is gone. I don't have any more sleepless nights.
Listen to Ted and call Optima now for a free consultation.
Call Optima. Don't wait. Optima Tax is like a bodyguard. They're there to protect me. If they can help me, I'm sure they can help you.
Call 800-799-0977. That's 800-799-0977. 800-799-0977.
Optima Tax Relief.
Testimonial from an actual client. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Baltimore's own Believe in Tomorrow Children's Foundation provides extraordinary hospital and respite housing services to critically ill children and their families. The foundation and their super volunteer, Carl Dacus, is a finalist in a national vote-driven contest to win $100,000 from NASCAR. Pay it forward and vote for Carl, the painter, and Believe in Tomorrow every day through November 19th. BelieveInTomorrow.org/NASCAR. You can help change the life of a critically ill child in under 30 seconds.
1010 WOLB Baltimore and WERQ-FM HD3 Baltimore.
The views and opinions of the guest and host you hear on 1010 WOLB
are not necessarily those of the staff and management of Radio 1, its sponsors, or advertisers.
Oh, beautiful, for heroes proved in liberating strife. Who more than self their country loved, and mercy more than life. America.
Yes, America, America. I don't care what you say. I don't care what you think. I am an American. I was born on this soil. We've done our DNA, Ancestry.com, and we're finding where our family came from. But we don't know none of them people. We might have been and slept with our cousins from 300 years ago. We don't know, but we know that we have made this country what it is. And without the free labor, in them cotton fields, digging them holes, pulling them tree stumps, none of this would be happening. The reason America is so rich is because they did it on the backs of black people. So y'all can talk, well, yeah, I'm African American because that's where the geographical place my family came from. But I am in America, and as a man thinketh, so is he. That's how they get us all the time. We keep thinking, oh, it's this and it's that. No. The law says that we have a right to these things. And until we start understanding that and come together and use our power as a people to make things that way we want to them, like not voting for people that don't have our best interests at heart, until we can get that in place, we will be staying in the same quagmire that we're in. Nelson, please continue. Thank you, sir. Yeah,
I just want to say, man, I thank God for y'all, man. I ain't going to hold you up long. I know you're busy. But what I'm trying to say is, when I've seen the Republicans, I want to cause them confusion about the other Carter because God not offer confusion. But when I've seen a whole bunch of Janos clapping for Donald Trump walking in there, and you got the brothers outside the field, Trump ain't got to do nothing. They fighting for Trump. And that's the thing about it is, I'm not trying to go to real black. But the thing about it is, if I go back to Africa, Africa say, man, you from America. The Africans don't even want to deal with us.
They don't. They don't.
Not disrespecting half of them. They think they're better than us. No disrespect.
Yes,
when I go to their country, they going to say, well, you're from America. Hold on. I'm saying I'm from the motherland. But I'm going to leave that alone. That's a long story with how they call it with us. Like I say, I'm in America. I'm a child of God. I deserve everything I'm supposed to get by the grace of God.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. You're absolutely right. And he's right about Africa. If they love Africa so much, how come so many of them trying to get over here? Yes, Leo.
Yeah. Veterans Day. Thank God for Veterans Day. I hope it reminds folks that we are trained to defend our country against enemies, both foreign and domestic. And veterans ought to be teaching brothers and sisters how to fight. You know, not just spiritually, but how to fight. That's the legitimate. Military science is important. That should be taught in the high schools. And then when I look at the toxic culture of racism still existing and flourishing on the great University of Maryland plantation and football field, not the least of which D.J. Durkin and company, and the death of this young black man who they cared nothing about, much has not changed. They don't remember. We don't pay our athletes in Congress, in the universities and colleges. We're not paying our athletes. We're not giving them stipends. Maybe I'm wrong. If I'm wrong on this, tell me. But even our professional athletes, the teams are classed as 501c3, and we give them free stadiums, and we do all this other kinds of stuff, which means they can do what they want to do with their money. So, again, be careful of the plantation, which is alive and well, not only in the cities, but in the colleges and universities broadly.
You see, now they say
very much.
Old lady said in my church, so you don't stop preaching and going to meddling.
Yeah,
now.
but they victimize these athletes because it's a tradition of victimization and racism.
Leo, what you have, and there have been a number of people who've been calling for the NCAA to change it in order to pay these student athletes for their labor. But the way that the NCAA looks at it is they're getting scholarships, so the scholarships to that particular institution is their payment.
And that's a bunch of jive for a lot of
considering they're paying the coaches millions of dollars. Correct. He couldn't do it without players.
A lot of them are hungry.
Well, I tell you what,
some of them need food.
I just wish all these great athletes would decide they know they're only going to go to HBCUs. So all that money that they paying for these big athletic programs would come to our schools since they're running the program with their greatness. Haki, welcome to Patrick Henderson's Meet the People. You have a question or comment, sir?
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, Patrick.
Hey, brother Haki.
Good afternoon.
Well,
yeah. Well, first, let me just shout out Leo. Good to see you at your event, man. I had a lot.
Yes, sir. Thank you for your support.
Time, but thank you for what you do for the young people.
Amen. Thank you.
All right. Well, and let me just say this, Patrick. You said something a little earlier about this, this election, and let me just say, it has kind of created a type of oxymoronic and confusion, for instance, in the black community. And I'll just speak specifically. You have, for instance, black in the city of Baltimore who have made their careers off of being a black Democrat. And I'll just mention, for instance, you had Kwesi Mfome as well as the other former president of the NAACP, Benjamin Chavis, who were both silent on Ben Jealous.
Ben Chavis.
NAACP, Chavis.
Ben Chavis. He was the former NAACP president as well.
Right.
And I'll also just mention, for instance, former Mayor Sheila Dixon. Now, both of them, none of them actually came out, but it's just fascinating to me, and it makes me realize that politics is black people in politics are very self-centered and selfish, and it's about their own personal careers and aspirations.
Yes. That's my deduction also.
Tell us about it.
Yeah.
Versus those in a black Wall Street. So I don't know how he gets to speak, and I don't think that he and some of the others have the intellectual depth.
Well, you know what, though? I'm going to tell you something, Hakeem. Yes, sir, I agree with you, but what they do have is relationships. See, one thing I've learned in the state of Maryland, and you with people, you need something, they're there for you, and they need something, you're there. So those relationships are what keep these people not only in power, but keep them in their selfish mode of thinking.
Absolutely, and thank you for saying that. And that's the thing, and that's what if it's a lot of older people that they just listen to these two particular individuals, and they like the Pied Piper for tossed to the side and eliminated.
Exactly. Fodder.
And true leaders like myself are building up.
Thank you, sir, for your commentary. We're going to go to Robert on line 4. Robert, welcome to Patrick Henderson's Meet the People. Do you have a question or comment, sir? Hello?
Hey, how you doing?
We're hanging in there. Come
how you
with
doing,
it.
Sir?
Come quickly.
Hey, man, listen. I just want to salute and give them his props right now. Mr. Farrakhan is a man at home and abroad. And I just want to say some of you are not aware of how the Arabs over there in Iran try to jam him up to get him to denounce America. And any man that denounces his own home is a fool. Okay? And they try to get Mr. Farrakhan to say death to America. But that's how tricky these Arabs are in their disrespect for black people here in America. And look, I'm telling these brothers right now, get away from that Arab mentality of Islam and work at home through the Islam of your understanding. Because these Arabs don't respect black people. They don't respect the fact that you are Muslims over here. Okay? So you go ahead and get on YouTube and get the whole press conference. And you see Farrakhan stood up for himself. And I'm telling you, the brother said, I forget his name, the blind man, he died now. He said, look, blacks don't have no allies. We don't have no allies. We only have ourselves, and we better get about the business of being about ourselves.
Yes, sir, I agree with you 100%.
I think he probably was referring to John Henry Clark. I think that's who he was referring to.
All right, we're going to go to John on line 5. John, welcome to Patrick Henderson's Meet the People. Do you have a question or comment?
I have a question. Could you tell me what's the role of Jim Smith in Kathy Pugh's administration?
Jim Smith? No,
Jim Smith.
Everybody's looking.
He is in the Sheila Dixon. He's in the Kathy Pugh administration. I think he was a former county executive. I don't know his position, but Baltimore County. Yeah. He does have a position in the Pugh administration. Maybe while we're here, somebody can Google it very quickly. But
He's a paid advisor.
He is in the administration. He is in our administration.
Why do you ask, sir? Hello?
I think he left.
He's gone. Drop him.
Okay. We're going to go to Thomas. Thomas, welcome to Patrick Henderson's Meet the People. You have a question or comment?
Hey, guys. Good afternoon. How you doing?
All right.
How you doing, sir?
Good. Jim Smith is Catherine Pugh's chief of staff.
Okay.
Well, we got some intelligent listeners, man. God bless you, brother.
He was also Baltimore County executive, and if I'm not mistaken, he was former police chief in Baltimore County. Same Jim Smith. I heard one of the guys mention about the Rothschilds earlier. Very powerful family, guys. Do we know who the most famous Rothschild is? It doesn't even use the last name Rothschild.
Yeah, what's his name? Starts with an M, I think. Mario, something. The one that decided, y'all gonna get mad at me for this, but this actually happened. He got together with Schofield. Y'all remember the Schofield Bible?
Yeah.
Y'all remember the Schofield Bible? That was like the Bible, the study Bible, the Schofield Bible. It was very famous and stuff. But Schofield himself was a womanizer, was a polygamist, and was ran out of many cities. But he was a brilliant writer. So he started to write that Jesus was going to come.
It's the mayor.
Mayor Rothschild.
M-A-Y-E-R.
And had him to write in papers saying that Jesus was going to come back to Israel, because if he said that Jesus was going to come back to Israel, then the Christians would protect Israel. Now, don't get mad at me. Go read it yourself, the year that it was written and everything.
Patrick, you're too smart. Let's listen to this one, too. Who's his brother, Patrick?
I don't know. Tell us.
His brother is none other than Warren Buffett Rothschild.
Warren Buffett Rothschild?
Warren Buffett's real name is Warren Rothschild.
No.
Yes, sir. Look it up, Patrick.
I did. I just read his life story. I saw no linkage to Judaism.
Him and Susan Rothschild are brothers and sisters.
All right, you're gonna need to send me that. I just watched it, and because I respect him highly, and Buffett.
I respect the man to this day.
But I don't think he's a Rothschild. He would have inherited it if he was Rothschild. No.
My brother Benjamin Netanyahu, is that Donald Trump's brother? Are they brothers? Are they brothers in arms or brothers in hypocrisy or terrorism?
I would not put him past you, Leo. I would put it past.
Might be kissing cousin.
Well, you got to look at it too. You cannot. That's why you have all of these evangelicals, especially in the Midwest and the South,
Thomas.
are pushing to get. That's why they pushed Trump to move the embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem.
Mm-hmm.
They were the ones who pushed him, even though the Congress had authorized it maybe 4 decades ago. But he's the only one who, quote unquote, pulled the trigger and did it because that's what they wanted him to do.
No, the white evangelicals wanted a Supreme Court justice. That's what they wanted, that's what they got.
That's what they got. That's what they got, exactly. 410-481-1010.
And family, from what I'm looking up online, there is no association with Warren Buffett and the Rothschild family.
I didn't think so. No, he's Aryan. He's pure. That's pure old white blood, Anglo-Saxon blood, I believe. Because those Jews have a different blood. But those that call themselves. But
WASP.
It's a culture. It's religion.
Can I bring up something?
Yes.
This is a quick thing that I wrote for Facebook, and it was called "Let's Change the Constitution." Executive orders are us. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but it starts with, "Your man-baby president believes that he can change the Constitution with the stroke of a pen." And that's when we were talking about the birthright citizenship. So I said, simply create executive orders. He's blissfully ignorant and has a group of deplorable followers who will probably believe the same thing. So let's change the Constitution. If we leave it up to this particular president, we could have changes to the preamble. Why don't we get rid of the media? Why doesn't the Article 1 powers could be amended so that you could change the order of succession? Amendment 1, let's get rid of the Jews and be for doing anything the man baby didn't like. Any police. The current amendment says excessive bail shall not be required, nor excessive fines imposed, nor cruel and unusual punishment inflicted. So how would the man baby deal with protesters, political opponents, or his mistresses and concubines? So we just get rid of that one. Amendment 13, we got to bring back slavery because that amendment got rid of slavery. Amendment 14, that's the whole birthright thing. We redefine who an American citizen is. Of Amendment 15, amendment in its entirety. That's voting rights. We don't need that. Amendment 16, we could eliminate that one. He doesn't like to pay taxes. That's the taxation amendment. So let's get rid of Amendment 19. Get rid of those women voters. Amendment 22, that he could change that so that he could be president for life, more than 2 terms. And Amendment 24, we could have we could reinstitute poll taxes. And then Amendment 25.
The poll tax is where you have to pay to vote. Keep going.
Oh, yeah.
And that was used primarily in the South.
Yes, my parents paid them. Keep going.
And then Amendment 25, that's the one that says if we think that the president is going crazy or becomes incapacitated, then we have a line of succession. And so we would adjust that so that he puts his family in before the Speaker of the House or anybody else. So these are just some initial thoughts.
I bet you, my listener, how many of y'all knew that's what all those amendments were? Thank you, Mr. Moran. That's the reason I want you here. Well, you probably did, but I tell you, I bet we can count them on one hand of people that actually knew what they were, and this was you were doing with tongue in cheek. That this is what the possibilities might be if this guy continues to keep power.
Yes, he is a threat to every single thing that we believe that the Constitution states.
Amen.
And so he has a complicit Congress. So he could begin to adjust those things. Nobody really raised Cain when he said, well, let's get rid of this birthright thing.
Well, the birthright, if you don't mind, the birthright question has been debated for at least maybe the past 5 or 6 years. And there have been people
take a plane right here and she go into labor and that baby is born here, that baby is an American citizen.
Right, so that's when they started really talking about that. Online, I was looking at lobbyist jobs, and there's a group for lobbyists called the Committee with regards to separation of church and state. So they're beginning to look at some of these things that he's mentioning within his commentary. And I'm beginning, you got the Second Amendment dealing with the right to bear arms.
The press is number one, right?
No, well, the press is in the First Amendment, freedom of the press.
Preamble in number one. But they're not going to get rid of Second Amendment. That's not going to happen. Right. But the thing that's interesting to me also is I need somebody to really follow up on this. I looked at it, but just briefly. Ivana Trump didn't get her citizenship, I think, until 1988. So that
was his first wife.
That's
Trump's
his
first wife, yes.
So would that make Little Don and Eric? Eric. Would that make them anchor babies?
That's a possibility.
And then Melania didn't get citizenship until, I'm not sure, I think like 2008. Would that make Barron an anchor baby? These are questions that may be answered.
Well, they need to be answered, but I guarantee
I think the answer sounds to be yes.
Yeah, well, of course it is. If those were the case in which they were. You're not. These are not you supposing.
And her parents are here. And
she came,
citizens because of chain migration.
Exactly, and she came on an Einstein Award.
Yes,
right?
she was a genius.
Immigrants not in the White House. You don't have any immigrant association from the White House.
Right.
Which I'd like to see the criteria to that Einstein Award.
Yeah, right. I would too. Well, gentlemen, it's been a great show, but before I close, y'all not getting out of here till y'all explain to me why we vote against our best interests. I would love to hear you, starting with you, James Morant, as to why black people, specifically in Baltimore, vote against their best interests in ways that are have such far-reaching implications as to the welfare of even their parents and themselves.
Okay. I do not understand abnormal psychology at this point. So I'm just going to guess that people are uninformed and unwilling to be informed. I will say in Baltimore City, there was 2-1 for Ben Jealous. And I will also say that in this state, 900,000 people voted for Ben Jealous.
3-1 in PG County.
But which is 10 or 12,000 more that voted for Hogan when he won the election. So what that says to me is that there's increased voter participation and perhaps enthusiasm, but there's not much education.
Yes.
So people continue to vote for individuals that they know or they should know don't have their best interest at heart. And the only salvation for us at this point is that we have a state legislature which is going to support efforts that are more amenable to us, and so they can veto a lot of the things that he does. However, watch redistricting. this governor will be able to deal with redistricting.
Ah.
I'll answer the question with the question. Why are you answering the question with the question?
And I want to say what I agree with you 100%. And I think that the Green Party needs to get busy, start raising money when the elections aren't going on, building up their case so that when there is time ads. Because Joshua Harris, he was a charming, brilliant young guy, but people didn't know him. He had no money for television, so we need to work with the Green Party to help them to establish that they've got a coffer, in other words, some money that they can do stuff with. So I agree with you 100%. Leo?
Yeah, term limits are badly needed. The one-party rule, I say, that has been existing for 65 years in Baltimore City and places in this state needs to change. And provisional ballots versus regular, there's no education of any consequence, no structured education. We talk about registration, and we do that at the behest of incumbents who want to stay in office. Mm-hmm. So those incumbents stay in office 15, 20, 30 years. Mm-hmm. And it's a self-perpetuating deal, and we've got to bring it to an end.
Yes, sir. Brother Richard?
Okay, I've seen too many times that we vote emotionally instead of logically. Mm-hmm. We vote just because an individual may be black or may be female or may be what. We don't read. We don't investigate. We do not look and listen and look into who these candidates are. And for many times we vote for people just because my father voted for this person or person X has said so. And then here's another part too. You look and see who you vote based on what church you go to, what school did they go to, what fraternity or sorority they belong to, the whole 9 yards, and that determines who they vote for as well.
Wow. The gentleman, I am somewhat appeased by your answers and in almost total agreement. But we must remember, and I'm going to recommend this to each and every one of you. Go to YouTube and put in there, in that browser, post-traumatic slave syndrome. Post-traumatic slave syndrome. And I believe you will find the answers as to why we don't have our best interest at heart. We've never been treated for the abuse of 400 years. So we're still doing things that Massa forced us to do, culture, things that we shouldn't be doing. We're doing it to our children and ruining their lives and doing it to each other. It's just the weirdest thing I've ever seen. How could we not love us? Such a beautiful people. Carl Sagan said that 90% of all black children are born geniuses. He says, but we beat it out of them. We break their spirits. So when it comes time for them to perform, they have no confidence in themselves. Yeah. God bless you all. You've been listening to Patrick Henderson's Meet the People on WLB 1010 Baltimore. Thank you, Leo Burrows. Thank you, Marvin Doc Cheatham. Thank you, Mr. James C. Moran. And thank you, Richard Terry, for a great show. And Jason?
And Patrick, for the family, just to let you know, Warren Buffett is classified as American on Wikipedia, born in Omaha, Nebraska.
Right. I don't know where my brother came with that line.
Black power and more of it.
Yes. God bless each and every one of you. Please join us next Sunday at 3:30 on Spirit 1400, and we'll see and hear you again here on Monday at 11:30 on WLB 1010. You've been listening to Patrick Henderson's Meet the People. Have a great week. Love somebody and forgive them and keep on moving so that we can move it together as a people. God bless.
And you know, when I was in school, we used to sing it something like this. Listen here. Oh, beautiful. Spacious sky.
1010 WOLB with talk in the day and soul at night.
Did you miss breakfast with the Larry Young Morning Show? We got you. Have lunch with Labor every Tuesday, 12 until 1 o'clock. Cheryl and David and you and labor issues that matter.
Lunch with Labor every Tuesday, 12 to 1 p.m. Labor issues that affect and matter to you. Tune in every Tuesday, 12 to 1 p.m. on WOLB.
1010 WOLB Baltimore and WERQ-FM HD3 Baltimore.
Ron had a tax problem he just couldn't handle on his own.
I owed the IRS taxes for over 5 years.
Ron called in the pros.
I called Optima Tax Relief, and boy, am I happy I did.
The leading tax resolution firm, Optima, is A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau. Ron was overjoyed.
They are a lifesaver. They are.